Now, no one should be driving while impaired by alcohol or any other drug. We take no issue with this fundamental premise. And the amendments I've just tabled propose no changes that conflict with that premise. They deal with the offence for the mere presence of THC in your system. If it's safe to drive after taking a medication, when the effects of the medication have worn off and in the days and weeks following its use, you shouldn't be criminalised for doing so. There's currently no consideration of medicinal cannabis in our road safety laws in Queensland, and this is an issue we urgently need to address. Queensland's roadside saliva tests pick up trace amounts of THC for longer than 24 hours, long after all impairment has passed. Trace amounts of THC or its metabolites might appear in blood tests weeks after the patient has used these medications. Our laws avoid the truth that impairment can come from an excess or misuse of many legal drugs. This includes conventional medications like opiates, benzodiazepines, amphetamines and, of course, alcohol. In fact, research shows that cannabis has a lower crash risk than benzodiazepines and opiates. However, Queensland law doesn't criminalise patients who test positive for the presence of these other potentially impairing drugs. In fact, our roadside drug testing doesn't even provide for testing for the presence of these drugs. It should be no different for medicinal cannabis patients. There is no evidence that the mere presence of THC equates to impairment, but there is lots of evidence that spurious drug driving charges can cause financial and personal ruin. Medicinal cannabis is legal and it can be transformative for patients, especially those suffering chronic pain or undergoing chemotherapy. Now, those patients should not need to give up their licence or lose the ability to drive. And this is the central issue we need to address. Our current law means that someone undergoing chemotherapy or suffering from chronic pain cannot drive for weeks after they use their prescribed medication, or they risk breaking the law and losing their means of transport. This can mean lost work and income and other major impacts on every aspect of a person's life. Medicinal cannabis should be treated the same as alcohol or other prescription drugs, meaning that driving with THC in your system should not be illegal unless it causes impairment. Punishing patients using medicinal cannabis by taking away their licence for trace amounts of THC, which do not impair driving, is cruel, and it just makes their lives harder. The Queensland Government should catch up with Tasmania, Canada and California in allowing people to drive if they are using medicinal cannabis, as long as there is no evidence that it impairs their ability to drive.